Japan says North Korea's latest missile test is outrageous and unacceptable after it fired a suspected medium or long-range ballistic missile into the Sea of Japan. It prompted the Japanese government to tell people living on the island of Hokkaido to seek shelter, but the missile splashed down outside its territory. All of this comes at a time of heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula. Let's speak to our correspondent, Jean McKenzie, who's in South Korea. Just bring us up to date with the latest on this, firstly, Jean.
So it appears that this was a long-range missile that the North Koreans fired this morning. It possibly could have been an intercontinental ballistic missile. So these are the missiles that can reach all the way to the US mainland. And it certainly looked for a time this morning that it was going to touch down very close to Japanese territory, or at least that's what the Japanese government thought when they urged people there to take shelter. But it became clear that it actually wasn't going to land too close, and that the North Koreans had done what they usually do when they fire these long-range missiles, which was to fire it right up into space. But I think what this shows this morning is that tensions are particularly high here, and people are becoming increasingly nervous because North Korea has now fired around about 30 missiles already this year, and the rhetoric coming out of Pyongyang is becoming increasingly aggressive. So over the past couple of months, we've heard them issue these veiled threats that they are going to fire a missile over Japan and into the Pacific Ocean. And so to show, therefore, that they can get near enough to the United States mainland and that they do have the technology to be able to target the US. So it's only natural that countries here, I think, are on high alert and are prepared now for this scenario, which explains a little bit, I think, of what we saw this morning.
And then in terms of reaction, Jean, what are you hearing?
So we've had the usual condemnation this morning from South Korea, Japan and the United States, saying that this missile launch, of course, threatens the peace and stability here in Northeast Asia, and urging North Korea to come back to the negotiating table, because the reality is that North Korea is becoming more of a threat to South Korea, Japan and the United States, because those attempts to, through diplomatic means, get North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons has failed, and North Korea is refusing to talk. What it is doing, quite successfully it appears, is building ever more sophisticated weapons. Now, we don't know exactly what weapon North Korea has tested this morning, but this is an important week for North Korea because it is celebrating the 11th anniversary of Kim Jong-un's rule over North Korea, and we know that it likes to use these anniversaries to showcase military progress. So it's quite possible that today the North Koreans have tested a new model of missile, perhaps an even more dangerous model of missile, and we may get those details from the North Koreans in the coming hours or the coming days.